Hi friends, this is Chris. Welcome back to the channel. We got some breaking news. Evergrande has halted trading, and this is big because we're talking about really a lot of money. We're also talking about the Chinese economy and the world economy. I just made a video about it. Essentially, the founder has been under house arrest. Read the headlines. You got to see this. Evergrande suspends trading in Hong Kong after Hui concerns. And it was interesting because I was thinking about this of like, what's going on here? So this is my feeling on this is people knew on the inside that there is a meltdown, right? We've talked about Evergrande for a long time, but essentially you want to keep it as quiet as possible so your buddies can sell, get their money out as quickly as they can, because once the floodgates open in terms of like people are like really panicking, then it's harder for your friends to get their money out. You guys know what I'm saying here? And so when they're halting trading like this, I think they are really concerned of widespread panic. I mean, seriously, they halted trading. The last time that they did this, halted trading on Evergrande, I'll show you guys here, it was for a 17-month period, so like a year and a half. So there was no explanation given by the Chinese government while they're halting trading on Evergrande. However, as we just talked about in prior videos, they've arrested the former CEO, the former CFO, and then the news broke out just a few hours ago that the founder, again, like I said, I'm using the word house arrest. It's hard to say what they're calling it, because I actually think this might have been an unplanned leak. Now, normally I'll tell you like, oh, it's all planned. It's all the way that things are done. But and it could be a planned leak. That's certainly possible. But basically, the way things played out is like you get these high-profile, essentially, police arrests. And then moreover, I mean, when you guys see this kind of stuff, that they're seizing people's apartments. So we just talked about this, or I shouldn't say apartment, I should say like mansion. That's the word they use. $112 million mansion. The government is seizing this. Again, this is the Evergrande founder. And this was another one. This just popped up. This is you can read the headline. Chinese tycoon Chen is another person. The other guy's name is Hui. Chen Hongtian seized a Hong Kong condo. And this thing's worth like 53 million, that kind of thing. And if you look at the picture of this condo, it's like really nice. It's done by a famous architect, etc. I think things are really, really bad right now. And I'm not saying any hyperbole at all. I'm saying like you're seizing rich people's homes. You're also suspending trading. Keep an eye on what's going on over in China and Evergrande, because if you guys lived through the '08, crisis, you'll know it's like one day you wake up and like everyone on Wall Street's packing their bags. Like what's going on, right? I feel like it's that kind of situation. And like I was saying before, my initial gut reaction is like the government was, not necessarily making like huge widespread arrests, because they try to keep it secret as they can, right? They basically tell these people, you're going to stay home and you're not going anywhere. We're going to take your passport away and we're going to keep a close eye on you and you're going to help us, get back our money. And when I say us, anytime you're talking about this much money, and for the Evergrande situation, I think it's like they're talking about they owe like 300 billion to people, and then they lost like 81 billion. I mean, the numbers are so big, it could be even larger than that. Who knows? And when you get into these kinds of numbers, there's got to be so many government officials involved, right? This is where, because people always ask me, there was someone wrote in the comments, is the government, the Chinese government, are they concerned about, the bond, holders getting their money back, or investors getting money back? Or are they concerned about regular people? And here's my answer. I want to make it really clear. The Chinese government tends to be most concerned about stability. And what I mean by stability is they're always worried that like regular people are just going to burn everything down. And I'm being really serious. If you ever lived in China, it always feels like it's on the cusp of just like falling apart. It's such a crazy environment. There's a kind of mix of enthusiasm of all the crazy opportunity. However, there's also the knowledge that like all this crazy opportunity comes with crazy amounts of risk, and you never know if Joe is going to steal your money, and then Joe steals your money because he owes money to Jan, and Jan owes money to Susan, and Susan owes money to Franny, and Franny owes money to Fred, and you get my point, right? It's like we're all on borrowed time / borrowed money. And I think there's a combination of things as well, and this is important, as we do talk about the Chinese economy. We're talking about this, right? You're talking about like, all these young people who don't have jobs, they don't want to work, and people aren't having kids anymore, like they got a population problem there. You also have the problem of like, here in USA, right? We're our Fed comes out and says, hey guys, we're gonna keep interest rates elevated for quite some time, and the market's like maybe finally believing it, and because basically the gist of it is like when you raise interest rates, if there's a lot of companies that kind of plan for low interest rates forever, that screws up their math and they're in trouble now. Or the people out there, and this is just regular people who want to buy homes, right? Who want to buy cars, who want to go buy stuff, and you're like, oh my God, look at this. If I get a house now, it's going to cost me 20-30% more than if I would have bought it just a couple of years ago. The interest rates are much higher right now. I mean, the money's just slowing, and I don't think there's any way around. At the end of the day, you got to pay the piper somehow, right? And so I think the concern, and this is actually really an interesting one, is like everyone just seems to be retreating to the dollar. I was looking at this thing right here. There's a couple things. One is because I just talked about with the I watch the dollar and the Korean won rate all the time because I'm in Korea. But look at this, U.S. dollar hits 6-month high as market accept new interest rate regime. I mean, the dollar looks good right now, and then moreover, oil's spiking. So now another headline just came out, just updated. Oil hits $95 a barrel. I think these things like the oil hit that people are gonna take, just regular people, on the cost of just driving to work, or the cost of shipping things, the cost of frozen food. I mentioned frozen foods because like you got to keep these things cool. It takes energy to do that kind of thing, and you got to move that stuff around from store to store. Just fuel costs add up quite a bit. That's on one spec. So that's sort of like how much does it cost to run your business? Because people always when you watch this channel, you're like, well, how does people in China affect me? How does this stuff affect me? Like you may not be getting the orders, plus it costs you more to get the orders to you, right? The cost of fuel is something that affects all of us. It's like really, really a lot. And like I said, when you're halting trading, I feel like the government, and this is just how it's going to be, is like, oh crap, the news got out that the founder is now under house arrest. Now, it's certainly true, and I want to just be real clear. It's certainly true that there's a possibility that the Chinese government had this all planned. They had planned to leak the information, because all their buddies got their money out. But I'm not so certain in that, and this is something that you may not know, and you guys know this. I worked at Tsinghua University, which is the top school in China, and many of the Chinese politicians, including the president, now President Xi, went there, and also Hu Jintao went there. They weren't my students because they're too old, but some of my students are probably working government right now. And I say probably because I could ask them, hey, are you part of Evergrande? I don't know if they tell me the truth. But the funny thing about this, and I want to be really clear, is that like China is a really big place. I mean, really big. And sometimes like the way that Americans conceive of China is that like, there's communists and they control everything and stuff like that. Yes, they do control everything, but they can't necessarily keep track of everything because there's just so much stuff going on, right? The best that you can do is like, I'm going to keep track of me and my close circle of friends. And if we hear like, news coming down the pipeline that the government's going to be doing X, then we try to take advantage, right? And like, maybe, you didn't have the right government friends, these kind of things. I hope you guys understand kind of my feeling on this and explaining this to you, because I always want to remind you that these are human beings just like us, right? Just like you, just like me. They're concerned for their family. They're concerned for their money, and everyone tries to game the system. And basically the differences, say, between the China and USA is just, how well do you enforce laws? Like, who can you bribe to help you? And also too, like, when you do something bad, like, how can you control whether or not that leaks to the media? So the difference in the USA is, we have free press, right, in USA. So you do something bad and you can try to hide it, but like if someone figures it out, they're just gonna print it whatever they want. The Chinese situation is really different because they try so hard to protect info as long as they can, especially on sensitive topics. So this kind of thing though was released by Bloomberg. So was this an official leak from the Chinese government about the founder of Evergrande, essentially being on house arrest? Who knows? But the end result was they halted trading. I mean, this is lunchtime here, and I'm like, it's just like literally an hour ago. So basically, they halted it right at lunchtime. Maybe someone in essentially maybe I'm just giving you one scenario. I think it's a possibility that someone's like, oh crap, did you see that Bloomberg leak that we're arresting people? What do you want to do? And they're like, okay, well we got to make a decision by lunch. And then like, okay, fine, we're gonna halt trading. Like, do you guys see what I'm saying? I just always want you to remind you when we read all this stuff in the news. Remember that these are human beings and they make decisions the same way we do. They have meetings the same way we do. They have their friends to look out for the same that we do. And I think another way to think about it is like any of these kind of situations is you're just trying to take care of your own. And the thing is that when I mention all the time that so many people are involved, is that you're talking about $300 billion. This is just Evergrande, and the China, the real estate market is essentially is how can I say, it's kind of like a stock market in USA in the sense of, if you remember the '08, the '07, '08 financial crisis, but leading up to that, it was like, you'd meet people that got like, 5 mortgages because it was so easy to get money and everything did nothing but go up, right? There was that kind of situation in the Evergrande situation. The real estate, we looked at the charts here, it peaked back in 2017. So, this has been on a downward trend for a while, and you never quite know and like how long the thing's going to go, because obviously you can look at they're talking about the share price here, it recovered a bit, right? You can see that because you have like all this crazy enthusiasm in the markets and everyone's at home during COVID. But we just been on basically a one-way ticket to zero. And this is the second suspension. So we'll see if they continue trading. It is highly volatile, yeah. And as Americans, you're probably not going to buy this Evergrande stock. I wouldn't touch it. And it's kind of like I was thinking about the if you guys remember the banking crisis that we had, was it First Republic, I think, and SVB, and there was a whole bunch of that stuff. This sort of property thing has a bit of the same kind of feeling to it. And it's funny, I just took the train up here. I'm in Seoul right now. I took the train up from Busan to Seoul to visit my wife's family, and I'll put a separate video on that so you can see a little bit more, our daily lives here. But I saw a ton of construction on the way, and it's been news here in Korea that we have a lot of like half-built stuff as well, because Chinese money goes everywhere, and all of our money is connected these days. And so this is why we talk about this stuff again. Is we're all connected, and if the Chinese money isn't flowing there, it's certainly not going to be coming to the USA, because there's, if we talk about, there's in LA, they're like, in New York, they got these big projects that were involved with these people. I think that one was called like Oceanside. I just made a video. Watch my last video if you haven't already. But anyway, I just want to hear your thoughts. So what is your opinion when we go through these headlines together and you see like, oh my God, they just suspended trading. Do you think this is the way that it's played out? Does it feel like it's a planned thing, or do you feel like this is like not planned and this particular league kind of forced their hand? That's my question to you. Love to hear different people's thoughts on these kind of things. So thanks again for watching, everyone. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you next video.